Desk Lady Ada.
Wow. We're still here. It's been an amazingly exciting week, but we're still rocking out. We're recovering from very exciting Pico launch and other exciting stuff that's happened in the last couple weeks. But we still got some engineering done here at my desk. It's me, Lady Ada. I'm at my desk. This is the Desk of Lady Ada show, where I'm going to show you what's been going past my desk all week.
That's right.
And all other stuff and news, and we'll do a great search afterwards. Do you have any updates or
Updates
words of
are
wisdom?
keep signing up for any of the Picos if you're hoping to get back in stock. We'll also have feathers and itsy bitsies eventually. And then also we're doing our 100 days of masking. So if you place any order in the USA, pretty much get a mask in the orders. Please continue to mask
Yeah,
up.
they're cool. They're
because it's all that we got at the moment.
We just gotta hold tight.
All right.
Cool. All right, well, let's kick it off with, let's show some samples on my desk. How about we start with that? We'll just ease into it. People can see it's glowing off my desk. So I got some NeoPixel samples. You know, I can't ever say no to new and exciting and different kinds of NeoPixels. So these are side lit, but they're double side lit. So it's like you see there's two rows of LEDs, but they're both side emitting. So it's cool. This is like, I think, 60 LEDs per meter. I'm going to unplug this real fast just so I can show you what it looks like not lit. So you can see these side light LEDs, and then in the center there's just like this little channel. I saw these because actually Geek Mom was going to do like a infinity mirror collar using this stuff, and I was like, that's kind of cool, like double edged side light NeoPixel. So I got some of that come in. So this is a sample roll. So I got that going on. So that NeoPixel. And then I also got these, which at first when I got them, I was like, wait, we already stocked this. This is like that neon edge-lit silicon, but it's actually something a little different. And I was like, I was kind of not into it, but then, I don't know, we'll ask Mr. Lady Ada what he thinks about it after we plug it in, because he hasn't seen this yet. He can tell us is it thumbs up go or thumbs down no go? Okay, so let me plug this in. So it's a silicone coated NeoPixel strip that's like really diffused and protected. So it's, instead of just having that clear, like this has the clear silicone where you can see through it. This is basically the same dimensions, but it's diffused. I don't know, what do you think? Pretty cool. You're into it, right? It's cool. I mean, you still see individual dots, although this is so bright. Maybe it's going to be hard to show it.
In person you can.
In person you can see the individual dots, but it has a kind of cool, like, it's like pastel-y. Like, it makes it all very, it kind of pales it out, and it gives it like a kind of cool femme look, which I'm into. So it's like pastel NeoPixel. A kind of interesting physical design. We'll get some good photos of it so people can see it. But this is another sample I got, and it looks really durable. Like this you could definitely, put outside or underwater, and it would be like really well protected.
Yeah,
also.
we'll always say weather resistant, because if you say weatherproof, someone will be like, I put it in the pool. We actually had someone say that, like, I put it in the pool, it didn't work. It's like,
after like 6 months, I'm like,
it shouldn't be in a pool.
Yeah, it's like, it's still chlorinated water, and like you have to waterproof everything.
So weather resistant, probably.
We'll say weather resistant, but it looks nice and durable, and I like it. I like the diffusion effect. It's a cool effect. All right, so that's that sample. Thank you, Metro Mini, for your sample work. I'm gonna put that away. And then next up, let's. I can try to show this off. So this is a project that Carter's working on. And what's funny is if I hold it up, you can't really see it.
Yeah, we got a green screen.
It's a green, but it's a matrix portal display with a CO2 sensor, and it's showing off the ppm. So I'll just put this on the overhead real fast, because then you can actually see it. So you can see it's got a happy face. So Carter is working on the guide for this. It's got a happy face, and then like if I breathe on the CO2 sensor here to make the CO2 go up real fast, it'll you'll see the CO2 number. This is the ppm CO2 value. So it's like going to 900 and 1,000, and it's like, oh no. And then like if it gets really high, like it's like warning, and then it gets really high, there's like little X's over the eyes, because it's like you're about to die because there's too much CO2. Maybe like you get there if you had a CO2 gun and you just like shot CO2 at this all the time. But the reason we did this project is we were seeing a lot of teachers and kids and folks who are in a group setting or at work and they want to have a way to tell if their air circulation indoors is good enough to keep anybody's breathing from like sitting too long, right? You want to keep air circulating to reduce risk of COVID. And so we thought this would be really great because it's a matrix portal. So this is all plug and play. There's no soldering required. And it's really big and it's got like easy to read from across the room icons and text. And this is part of Stemma QT because it's just a Stemma QT board. You just plug and play it in. Like there's like no soldering involved. This is super cool because usually this would be a very advanced project. But if you have an old Ada box, this is actually would be a really easy thing to put together. Just plug in our CO2 sensor and load up this CircuitPython code. So that guide will be coming soon, but I thought I'd preview it. So that's cool. Any questions about that? No.
Nope.
Okay, great. I like when there's no questions because we can keep moving. And then finally, the Stemma QT of the day is this TCA8418. This is kind of an interesting chip. So this is a keyboard matrix, the multiplex matrix driver to I2C converter, which is kind of unique. Like I've never seen a chip like this, although maybe Holtec has one. They have a bunch of similar stuff. Hold on. You can do it. You cannot do it. You can do it. Okay. So the TCA8418, it has 8 rows and 10 columns, so up to 80 keys. So it's not like a full, huge 104 key keyboard. But for like a little gadget or something, like something where you just want to have like a basic keyboard or a bunch of inputs and you don't want to have to like do the matrix scanning because it like requires a timer and like a lot of effort. This little chip has an interrupt and it does all the keyboard scanning for you. You just like set up the matrix and if you want diodes, put in diodes. So I made a little breakout for it. I only scanned it to see if it like shows up on an I2C. But I think this could be useful if you, again, want to make like a keyboard and you don't want to like hand matrix it. You don't want to use all the GPIO pins for it. You want interrupt, it debounces and does interrupts for you. It's go over I2C, which is great. You don't have to have, if you don't have a USB keyboard interface, like this could do the job for you. So I was thinking of making a little like keyboard, like with little tactile buttons that people could Stemma QT onto something and then they could like make a little keyboard. And one of the reasons it's kind of funny that this came up is we have a design that we're working on. It's super top secret. So let's go to the computer and I'll show this super secret project. So we've always really liked the chip, which was this like handheld, it was a MIPS processor, I think, Linux board, and it had like a screen, like a 4.3-inch screen and a keyboard. And it had this module plugged into the back, which was like this chip module. It was this $9 Linux computer. This was before the Pi Zero. And we actually thought it would be really cool if there was a version that was like the chip, but it was for the Pi 4, the compute module. So this is the design that we're collaborating with. And since I didn't ask the person for permission to say who it is, I'm not going to say who it is. But it's got a compute module on the back. And then it's got this white thing is a TFT screen, so it's going to have a TFT screen, although it's probably not going to be a 4.3 inch. It's just like this is a handhold for now, like a stand-in. And then what I thought would be really fun is you have this keyboard. So you see you have like a full like QWERTY keyboard. And, at first I was like, well, let's connect this QWERTY keyboard through like an, at Mega 32U4 or an at SAMD21. Why? Because it could do the matrix scanning and then actually act as like an HID keyboard. Like you would actually pretend to be a keyboard and then plug right into Linux, and that would be like so convenient because it would always work. But then we realized that there was only one USB port, and then we're like, well, now like it got a little complicated. And so it turns out that there's actually a Linux kernel driver for the TCA8418, this little keyboard driver. And I was like, hey, I was going to make a breakout for that chip anyways. So it might make a double feature where it shows up as a breakout and also on this cute matrix keyboard, which I also, again, I want to have like a standalone little keyboard too, because we've always thought it would be neat to be able to plug in a keyboard into a Circuit Playground or Circuit Python board and then be able to like type into the REPL. So like, I don't know, maybe eventually we'll have that. So it's something that we've been thinking about for a bit. It'll be a fun hack. So one thing that I was noticing and I was about to email the person and talk to them about was they picked this micro SD card because the compute module, you can have storage on SD card. And I was like, oh, they're not using the standard SD card that I use. And I was like, oh, that would really make a great search. So before we go to the great search, are there any questions?
Yeah.
And then we'll go in.
Could matrix scanning move into PIO? Not on that board, but on the PIO.
You could do it with the Pico, but it's just like, then you have to write this code. And it's like, I already have the code for a SAMD chip. That's not the problem. It was more like you would be using up a USB port. And there's only one USB port on this. So we thought, well, we might as well like keep that port free until later notice. Also, like the cool thing about having the USB port available not through a hub is then this can act as a gadget in gadget mode. So there was some incentive to like, let's avoid using a hub.
All right, look at this question I'm going to try. Does Ethernet Featherwing work with AdaBox and/or Clue Brain via SPI or I2C on breadboard? If so, both Arduino and Circuit Python?
It does, but boy, it's going to be a real pain for you to wire it up. Like there's a lot of wires and you got to make sure you get them all right and you need the 3-volt regulator. That said, it does work in Circuit Python and Arduino and it'll work on any board, but you have to like get all the wiring perfect.
Okay. Thanks for grabbing that one. I didn't exactly know.
No, it's cool. I understand what they're saying. They're like, I want to add Ethernet to my Clue. And I'm like, yeah, you can do it, but not awesome. Actually, speaking of, maybe I can show off my... This is like it's super not before we jump into the great search. I can show off. I have a Clue based off the Pico, not Pico, the RP2040.
Do you want me to go to the overhead?
Yeah, let's go to the overhead real fast, and we'll
okay,
jump
so
out.
this is RP2040 Clue.
This is the RP2040 Clue. So it's all the Clueness that you love, and then this is the RP2040 and the flash memory. Because again, there's no Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. But you get all the sensors here, and then Stemma QT, and then what would be cool is that it's just like you don't get the Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, but it would be really low cost, and you'd have a screen and buttons, and it would be microbit connector compatible, and that could be kind of cool on its own. So I might put this together next week. It's been a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So you want to do a great search?
Yeah. So let's get into the research.
So
where in the world is that part I need? The great search with DigiKey.
all right, the Great Search with DigiKey. Every single week, Lady Ada uses their superpowers of searching the DigiKey site to find the type of electronics and parts and more that
You're looking for.
you need, everyone needs, and with billions of parts, you got to figure out how to find them. So what is the Great Search this week?
Okay, the Great Search this week is going to be on micro SD card holders. It's a very common little accessory that we like to put on boards, and a lot of people like to put on boards. Why? Because you can get a micro SD card anywhere. It's very standardized. They're very inexpensive. They come in like every capacity you could ever need, like gigabytes down to like a couple megabytes if you really don't need that much. They're easy to interface with. Every microcontroller, microprocessor has a library for interfacing with SD cards. So if you need storage, SD is definitely the way to go. But you need to have a holder. You need to have something that you plug that SD card into. And I realized while reviewing this design that it's actually kind of not intuitive, all the different kinds of SD card holders that are available. They're a little different than battery holders, even though they look similar. So before we go to the Great Search technically, let's go to the overhead real fast, and I want to show off the different kinds so when I talk about them, you know what I'm talking about. So this is a micro SD card. This is a common little doohickey. It's got 8 pads on it. You can talk to it via SDIO or SPI and check your microcontroller libraries for which one you're going to use. This is a common holder that we like, and I'll show how we find this one. But what I like about this one is it's push-push. So you see there's this loose card, and then you push it in, and it clicks in. And then when you push it again, it pops out. Nice thing about this is it's like, I find it like, ooh, it's like you push it in and it pops out. How convenient. There is this problem, though, and of course it won't happen now. But like, Yeah, actually, it did happen. You do it wrong, and it flicks across the room, and I'm never going to find that SD card. It's okay. It's a blank one. Thank you, Mr. Levy, for finding the SD card. I had a spare because I knew it was going to happen. So this is another version. Again, push. Same card holder, and then this is a teensy board. And this has a slimmer one. So what's nice about this one is you can see physically it's slimmer. It's a much smaller holder because it's to fit between these two headers. This one is not a push. It's a push and then pull. So I have to pull it out. Which one's easier? I don't know. I mean, like some people like one, some people like the other. The Raspberry Pi used to be push, and now they're push-pull. So you see you have to push-pull. There's one thing, if you have a push type and you pull it out, it can kind of get into this weird, like, confused state where it's like, why did you just pull, like, it'll let you pull the SD card out, but, like, the spring will be, like, confused and you'll have to, like, push it in a couple times for it to reset what it thinks it's doing. But now that we've, looked at the two different kinds that are, I think, the most important, let's go to the computer now. We can really great search it up. Okay, so... let's go. So this is the card, but we'll start from the beginning. So one thing that's interesting is if you type in micro SD card holder, which you'd think you would do, it actually comes up with no results. That's because these, we've talked before, sometimes mechanical stuff especially is in a place you don't necessarily expect it. Card holders are actually under PC card sockets. They're actually called memory connectors. How are you going to remember that? Well, you watch The Great Search and you remember. It's called a PC card socket. So the PC card socket area, it's kind of a busy place. You've got, and then we'll look at card type here. You've got the MMC SD, you've got memory stick, nano SIM, micro SD and SIM. There's combos that you can get. Compact flash. If you're designing something with compact flash, I feel really sorry for you, but you can get those. Fax modem socket, PCI, SIM, PCMCIA, secure digital. So there's a lot, and the thing is, it's a little confusing because you'll actually see the same thing appear a couple different times. Like for example, micro SD has micro SD and UFS. Why? I don't know. There's also micro SD up here. There's also mini SD, which is actually different. It's now a dead standard. There was something in between micro and full SD card. The rest are these SIM cards. So there's MMC, but multimedia usually that means the large SD card. Not here, but on other sites you might also see this called Transflash or TF card. Why so many cards? I don't know. The card itself is standardized. Everything else isn't. That said, I think we've picked out all the ones that say micro SD. So let's apply. Okay, great. So now we have 131 to look at, and we can start looking at images and say, okay, yeah, this starts to look right. But there's what's this one? Why is it so short? And what's going on here? It has a hinge. Why is it hinged? So let's also just look at the active ones. That's about half. And then, so mounting type is really easy to review because, again, there's through hole and then there's surface mount and there's dash. I didn't want to show you the through hole because I thought this was super cool. I was like, why would there be a through hole? So this is a through hole vertical style, and I don't know what it's good for, but I'm sure somebody's watching is like, that's really something I need. It's like a vertical step. It sticks straight up, right? Which is cool. It's unusual. You're not going to see that most of the time. What you're going to see is right angle flat against a PCB. Why? Because you have so much pressure going against it that you need to have it flat and well soldered so that when people, they do a bad job inserting it, they don't, wrench it off of the board. You can see here the insertion method. Push in, pull out, or push in, push out. So that's the thing I showed you. There's also hinged, which I don't have any examples here. I've never actually seen a hinged one, but the hinged ones are cool. They're like SD card sockets, which I do have an SD card, so I can show you what it kind of looks like. So hold on. So maybe we'll go to the overhead real fast. I'll show you. This is not an SD card, it's a SIM card, but it's the same concept. So with the hinge, like you slip the card in and then you click it. Why? I think first off, you don't have to have it in your card. You don't have to have this on an edge of a PCB. You can have it anywhere on the PCB because you open it up instead of having to like, with these, it has to be at the edge. Otherwise, you can't get the SD card in because you have to maneuver it. It has to be a flat insertion. But with the hinge, you don't have that. That said, in this case, we're not going to do hinge, so I'm going to not select those. Although I'll say sometimes I see like hinged even though it's not hinged. Okay, so let's go back to the computer. Sorry. Okay, so I selected only the push-pull. And then you're like, well, what's this? These are actually really cool. And I wanted to point them out even though I have not used them. But I have seen these. The first time I saw these was on the VS1000 audio module. And this SD card slot, what's cool about it is it's like the SD card sticks out a lot. Like it sticks out quite far past the PCB, but the connector is so slim. And another thing that's nice about it is the connector is a little elevated. And so you can actually put it like alongside a chip. Like it doesn't have to be at the edge. It can be a little bit inset, and then there can be like components where the SD card would cover it, if that makes sense, because only the end of the SD card gets inserted into the socket. So I've seen this where it's like weird angles, like you need it to come in weird, or there's not enough space for the full SD card, so like this overhangs. So these overhang style, I don't know what they're called, but I'm going to call them overhang style or like mini style. I've never used them, but they're like super cool. Okay, then there's that slim style. This is the, what we saw on the teensy. But the style we want is actually, like the ones I have on the Feather. They're very inexpensive. So let's go for push type, because that's what I use. The rest of this is not like, there's board guide, switch, whatever, contact finishes. None of these are really important to me. I'm going to select normally stocking. And then I sort by price, and especially if you're looking at prices of like, 250 pieces or more. This one's a new one, the MEM 2051. But this one like is basically what I use. This is kind of a generic connector, so I would recommend this one. I will say that there is this very cute. The second one on the list by price is this very cute hinged one, which I think if you're going for a hinged design, I like this. It has the lock, it slides out like the SIM. You plug in the micro SD and you slip it in. And then for those ultra slim style, this kind, it's only pull or push-pull. So it depends, if you need that slim style, you're not going to get the spring. One thing I will say to watch out for with these is you can use these for SPI or SDIO, it doesn't matter. They give you all the pins available. This is a pretty generic type. However, the back pins, there's these two back pins, which you can kind of barely see like right here. They are a card detect. And what happens is that it's kind of shown here. This little pad here connects to a mechanical piece that when you insert and remove the card makes a short to ground. So you can use it to detect physically if there's something in the slot. However, some have opposing polarities and some have like two pins that you have to connect or disconnect, and some are normally open, normally closed. I'm only letting you know because I've had the issue where it's like I found a connector and I was like, oh, this SD card is the exact same SD card slot. Yay, I have two options. And I didn't realize that even though mechanically, like it looked the same, one had the switch normally opened. So when there's a card in, it's open, and one had it when the card is in, it's closed. And so like that like really confused customers in testing. And I eventually sorted it out, but like I didn't think to check for whether which way the switch worked. And that's not standard, even if the rest of the pins are standard. That said, this is a great part. I like the price. How can you say no? It's 70 cents in quantity, comes in real. It's a good deal and it's in stock. So this is a good micro SD card holder, and I recommend it.
All right, and that's a great search.
Yay!
Where in the world is that part I need? The great search with DigiKey.
All right. And that's
Okay.
This week's.
That's it. Is you got any questions from people or?
Let me see. What does it mean when the price box in gray in the search? Well, it's a lot of searches I do, but not all of the cheapest are gray thing.
I think gray. Oh, I think what the reason they're gray is it just means that's the thing you're sorting by. It's telling you like that's the active sort column. But if I'm not sorting by price, you're not going to see that.
All right. And that's it.
Okay, cool. I'm glad we got through everything. I got to show off some cool stuff and give some micro SD advice. If you're looking for parts, don't forget we do take requests. So post them up, send them over, social media tag us, what have you. And we're going to see you got a jam-packed week. People are back. We've got live shows all this week. It's Pico. Everyone's still Picoing. Try out some CircuitPython on your Pico if you got one. All of our libraries, almost all of our libraries, should work just fine with it. And we recently started working on getting Protomatter, RGB matrices working on it. So that'll be super cool as well. I know a lot of people have Picos and they're like, I want to build a project, but you can get inspired by going to learn.adafruit.com. Phil, you got any last remarks? Okay, thanks everybody.
And that's Disco Data for this week. See you next week.
See you next week.